Hey everybody, welcome back. We've been talking about trading as a business, and this is the third part of that series about trading as a business. In parts 1 and 2 we talked about revenue streams, and we talked about building systems that your business can run on as opposed to just doing things as a hobby. And in your lifetime members area, you'll find access to those videos, and you can rewatch those again and again. And we'll probably create a whole entire brand new class inside of your members area in Kajabi so that you can refer to these videos one by one and step at a time. In today's video, I want to review the third concept in treating your trading like a business. And I don't know how long this series is going to go, but it's seeming more and more like it's going to become a big series. And each one of these videos, although I'd like them to go in chronological order, at times we'll just focus on one aspect that seems like it's the most important thing on my mind right now for you. All right, so assuming that you've decided what your revenue streams are, you've decided what your business does as a trader, and you've started to build systems for running your business and a routine and a process, as we talked about already, the next step in the process, in my opinion anyway, is to decide on and build a company culture. And in order to get to that point, I want to review some of the rules that I have in place as a trader that I sometimes break, but that kind of make up my company culture as a trader. And here's what I mean by that. Company culture is really a set of morals or values that a company lives by, whether spoken or not. And if they're not listed out, at least they're lived in such a way that they become part of what it feels like to work at that company. And the same is true for you as a trader. If you've ever worked at a company and they have a stated policy on, I don't know what it is, verbal abuse, but still there's some jerk in the company that can be verbally abusive, it doesn't really matter what the company culture says it is. It matters what it's really like. So in no way, shape, or form should written rules ever take the place of how you really are as a trader. But you got to start someplace, all right? So the first thing is you can at least list it out. Here's what I mean by that. The first rule of trading, or the first rule of company culture as a trader, has to be that you're going to take small losses, trade with a small size, and preserve your account. Now I break this rule all the time. I mean, not all the time, but once a year I break this rule. And I'll let something go and I'll get myself into a bit of trouble. And I'll hear comments on YouTube or whatever where someone will say, well, you're messing everything up and you're making huge mistakes and you're a bad example to other people. And I'm like, oh, so you just found out that I'm not perfect? Wow, that must be difficult for you. If you expect perfection from me, then I would expect it from you. And that's really not how we do things. So although this is a written rule, I'm going to occasionally make a mistake here, just like anybody else will. You will too. But we got to preserve our account balance. And so despite the fact that I write this and that I try to live by it, this is probably the #1 most difficult thing for anyone to do in trading at all. It's the #1 most difficult aspect of company culture as a trader. And it's the most important one to get right. And I'm still trying, just like everybody else. It is that you have to take small losses or trade a small trade size and preserve your account balance. This has to be built into the culture of what you do. So someone on YouTube the other day was commenting on my New Zealand dollar Swiss trade, and I'm fighting the New Zealand dollar New Zealand dollar US dollar right now. And someone was commenting on it yesterday, and they were like, well, you're breaking every rule in the book, and you're a bad example, and you're, whatever. And I take all that to heart, and this is supposedly my most important rule, and yet I'm fighting this New Zealand dollar, and my actions don't line up with the stated company culture. So I have to do something about that. I have to be transparent and open and communicate about it and discuss it and work through it and confront it. And I mean, I'm a company culture of one, but I have to make amends to myself. But that still is the stated policy. And although I'm going to make mistakes, at least I can, I'm not making any excuses, and it's not really that big of a deal. You got to talk about it. You got to be open about it. You can't hide from it. You can't get defensive about it and whatever else. So that's #1. So this has to be written somewhere next to your trading desk. It has to be written into your trading plan or your process that we talked about. It has to be your number one most important priority as a company culture. And when someone says, well, what do you do as a trader? Your answer would be, I preserve my account balance. That's it. That's what I do. Rule number 2, or company culture number 2. Now, some people in the world of trading, well, not some people, 95 to 99% of all traders have never even heard anything like this as it refers to trading. So for instance, most people when they think about trading or they think about getting interested in trading are not thinking about doing what's easy. They're thinking about doing what's magical and difficult and complicated, and they want to make a large amount of money within a short period of time. And what I'm saying is part of our company culture as traders has to be do what's easy and constantly simplify. I'm not even sure I'll be able to do this, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. I was going to try to draw on the screen, but that's probably not going to work. We'll go back. So rule number 2 is to do what's easy, meaning find a simple trading methodology and then implement that trading methodology over and over and over again. Find a simple robotic system, even though it has flaws, and implement that over and over and over again. If you find that it's difficult at the beginning of learning how to trade, that's fine. That's normal for everyone. But if you're constantly complicating, complexifying, and making everything more difficult, that's not ever going to work. And so as a company culture, as a rule even, I try to do what's easy, meaning I'd rather compound easy to achieve, small wins, build confidence, rack up the wins over time than I would attempt to find one trade a year that gains 300%. Or I don't want to try to trade a 20-cent penny stock that might go to $5, but in the process of trying to get the $5 and the giant win, maybe lose my whole account. I just want to do what's easy. And I want to do it simple, and I want to do something that's a 3-step process. And that's surprisingly possible. So anytime you feel like it's getting complicated or you're feeling lost or whatever, then we've all made it too difficult, and you should reach out to me and say, hey, I think we've made that too difficult. I'm not understanding what we're doing. Could we go back and simplify things a little bit? And tomorrow morning when we do our live trading together as lifetime members, and ghost pivot traders and end of week traders or whatever you want to call it, we're going to try to do what's easy as opposed to doing what's difficult or whatever else. Rule number 3 is where I started this whole process and where I began thinking about today's conversation about company culture. And that is that whatever happens, we take responsibility. So it's very common in our world today to give excuses as explanations. And I do this as a trader. Well, I traded the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and I got in really early because it printed a divergence. And I know it wasn't fully my rules. However, and then I list out a bunch of garbage that is an explanation meant to be an excuse. But the most important thing for me to do is say, okay, I've got a New Zealand dollar trade or a trade on Pier 1 or whatever stock it is, and it's not going well. I'm going to take responsibility. We can go back over how we got here later, but what are we going to do about it now? What are we going to do about it right now? And this stems from a chapter in the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, which is about realistic optimism, which is a willingness to face problems directly with a constant faith in victory, and a refusal to complain, meaning a certainty that I'm not a victim and a reminder that I control my own responses. So I'm not a victim of the New Zealand dollar, or I'm not going to argue with the New Zealand dollar, or I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting mad at the New Zealand dollar. I'll save that for the Japanese yen, ha ha. But I have a certainty that no matter what happens, I'm going to make my way out of this. I'm going to take responsibility. And as a company culture, as a trader, something that goes next to your desk or is near you when you are trading is this idea of realistic optimism. And it's written down somewhere so you can remember it. But it's also something that you try to live your life by. that I try to live my life by, that no matter what obstacles I'm facing, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to go to work. I'm going to face my problems directly. I'm going to make amends. I'm going to face the situation. I'm going to deal with it directly. I'm not going to be a whiner. I'm not going to be a complainer. I'm not going to give up just because it's difficult. I am optimistic that the future is always holding something great in store for me. But I have to confront some issues head on right now. I can't sweep them under the rug. I can't act like it's not there. I can't act like I didn't take my New Zealand dollar, US dollar trade. I have to admit that I took it. I have to deal with it. I have to do something about it. And it's a lot easier to do something about something that goes wrong when you've taken a small trade size in the first place. Okay, I hope some of that is helpful. What I'm going to do now is jump over here to, which one is this is the white, is that the white? The whiteboard's not up here anymore. It used to be one of our menu items, so. Microsoft Whiteboard. All right, so I'm going to write one more thing on the screen that's been on my mind lately. And it's been a big thing on my mind, and that is one last aspect of company culture as a trader. And we're going to do hardcore technical analysis and stuff tomorrow, so today's a lot of philosophy and psychology of trading. So forgive me if we've really gone off into the deep end of psychology and philosophy and whatever else. It's really popular these days to, very new age, and very popular to talk about the now. That's a big thing. You'll hear it expressed as, you've heard this term. You'll hear people talk about mindfulness, right? You've heard that before. And focusing on the present. Eckhart Tolle wrote a book a few years ago that Oprah Winfrey lost her mind over, The Power of Now. And I read that book, and I read, I don't know how to say his name correctly, but The Miracle of Mindfulness by a Vietnamese, or I can't remember what it's called, I'm sorry, whatever the monk is, and all that kind of stuff. And mindfulness became a really big thing. And there's this focus on the now, and that's great. There's a lot of good from that. I'm here and I'm very present with you in the moment, blah, blah, blah. That's okay, cool. But I think this can get a little bit out of control. I think we can get obsessed with the now, especially when things are difficult. When things are difficult, if you're focusing on the now, things can become a lot more difficult. If you are obsessed about how bad it is now, and you are struggling with the fact that your trading isn't where you'd like it to be, and you're focused on where you aren't right now, and the way that things are not working out the way that you might have hoped, or somewhat, you know, whatever. When you obsess about this, it can cause enormous amounts of problems, and it can even prevent you from being successful at all. So I want to focus on something different. I'm going to try. Wow, the eraser doesn't even work. Look at that, Nate.
Oh, we're having all sorts of fun.
That is really interesting. So I can't even erase. You can't erase the now. I guess that's the analogy. Anyway, the point is that as a trader, and as a person for a long time actually, and I've been fighting this for a while, and I wanted to bring it up with you. I've kind of fought this for a long time because talking about the now is popular. But I want to talk about the future. I would suggest that there's a lot to gain by you reaching out for in your mind and getting a tight grip on how good things are going to be for you in the future. And what I mean by that is, instead of focusing on the now and where you are or where you aren't right now, I would encourage you to spend at least, as a company, remember we're talking about building your company as a trader, at least 10 minutes a day. Now this is beside and in addition to your Bible study or your prayer or your family time or whatever other personal time you take that's spiritual. I would spend, if I were you, 10 minutes on a daily basis imagining and envisioning with clarity the future that you have in store for you if, I'm going to use the word right. Wow, we're just having all kinds of, problems. But if you focus on keeping your trade size small, doing what's easy, and facing your problems head on with a confidence and faith, what would happen if you have that right mindset? What's your future going to look like in a year? Not what is your future going to look like if you trade the triple loop-de-loop of death trading system. That's not what I'm asking. But if you make right decisions with the right mindset, if you get your mindset right, what if you were a more assertive, confident person who faced your trading problems head on, traded with a small size, compounded your gains, and did what was easy? What would happen? What would your life be like? Spend 10 minutes a day thinking about what that future looks like in 12 months or 24 months or 36 months. Now, like I said, we're going to do a lot of hardcore technical analysis and whatnot, and sometimes we can get so deep into that we think that, well, there's an old saying, and that is, it takes a finger to point to the moon, but woe unto the person who mistakes their finger for the moon. Meaning, you need technical analysis and sometimes to look at the market, but be careful about mistaking and equating technical analysis for the market and for your business. Your business is really a combination of making right decisions with the right mindset over and over and over again. A business, at the end of the day, is a set of products and services delivered to people in exchange for value. However, what people think about your business and your brand really is your company culture, and the trajectory and the success of your business depends on an alignment of the right way to document your business company culture and then living up to those standards. To cap things off, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I don't know where I heard this. I may have even made it up. A lot of people make the mistake. A lot of people make this mistake. And I think I've been guilty of this as well. A lot of people make the mistake of confusing dreams for standards. What they'll do is they'll raise the level of their dreams. They'll say, man, I can't wait to live in a huge house with a gate, or I can't wait to have a happy family, or I can't one day when I am no longer beset by these mortal temptations or whatever. And they'll have these dreams of some bright future that is not now. And they'll sort of raise the level of their dreams. And they'll say, oh, my dreams, or also another word for this is goals. They'll say, well, all success comes from setting higher and higher goals. This madness that people like Grant Cardone are out there preaching, that you got to have big goals and big goals are inspiring or whatever. Well, I think that's garbage. No one ever does anything until they truly want to. Most people don't take trading seriously until their account balance goes down, down, down. And that's because they have standards. You have a standard or a level at which you start to panic and work really hard, and you get serious about doing things. If you raise your standard instead of your goal, so if you say, if instead of saying my goal is $1,000 a week, if you raise your standards and say, my standard is not to lose more than $100, you've just preserved your account. If your, let's say your account's at $10,000, most people won't get serious about trading until their $10,000 account is just $1,000. And they'll go, oh, now I get it. Now I get that I was supposed to be serious about protecting my account. So what you do is, instead of raising your goals and setting all kinds of crazy dreams, You raise your standards. And you say, right now I'm raising my standards and the expectation that I have for myself. And my standard is, I'm not going to lose more than a certain amount of money. My standard is, I'm only going to do things that are simple and easy and repeatable. My standard is, I'm not going to let trading or my work take me away from my family. You set standards that are higher. Most of the world has very low standards, and most of the world will lower their standards in order to get something that they want in the moment. They'll trade what they want most for what they want right now. That's what most people will do. And successful people, I think, aren't people who set big goals. I think they're people who set high standards. And what you want to do is make a decision now about the way that you're going to act in the future. And that's what company culture is all about. It's about raising your standards of performance, that I will not take a trade with a trade size that's more than whatever. I will not take a large loss. I will not allow it. Number two, I won't allow myself to get taken off into all kinds of different crazy directions on trading systems, and I won't make everything complicated. I refuse. I have a high standard for keeping everything simple and spending time with my family or whatever else. And then I have a high standard that I'm not going to be a complainer. I'm going to be the type of person that faces problems head on with the confidence that we're going to get through whatever difficulties that we're facing. And that's setting standards. And imagine what happens if you immediately today raise the standards that you have for yourself. You can't raise the standards you have for other people. They're not going to necessarily live up to your standards. That's a whole other conversation about helping other people raise their standards. But you can raise them for yourself. And what would your life be like if on those three issues and maybe a couple more personal issues, you raised your standards? What would your life be like if you simply said, this is the standard of performance and standard of conduct that I expect from myself? If you do that, imagine what your life would be like in 12 months or 24 months or 36 months, even 10 years, if today you made that decision. And the great thing about raising the standards that you have is you can do that today and it makes a difference. If you set a higher goal today, it doesn't necessarily do anything. In fact, you may get caught up by the fact that you are not, because you raised your goal, you're further away from it than you've ever been. As opposed to saying by raising your standards, you immediately change your conduct right now to meet that standard. And you have complete control over that right now. It's not outside yourself. Anyway, I love you all. So happy to be here together with you. We'll link to a presentation on this. We'll get this all uploaded to your members area for all of you that are lifetime members. If you're not a lifetime member and somehow you stumbled across this video or got access to it or watched it or whatever, we love you, and we'd love to see you inside the family. And usually this stuff, although every once in a while it gets out into the wild, we'd love to have you on board as a member of our family. We have high standards for each other and for ourselves. I'll see you later, everybody. Bye for now.